Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!
Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to GNR Central. And today I want to talk about an incident that happened in 1991 with Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose, and involves a hot air balloon in the city of Salt Lake City in Utah. So Guns N' Roses were on tour as part of the Use Your Illusion tour. They were playing a bunch of shows before the albums even came out. So Guns N' Roses played Salt Lake City on July 13th, 1991, which is around the time that this incident took place. So a person on Reddit posted some photos of Axl Rose that they found in their attic, the time that he landed on the street in front of his grandpa's house in a hot air balloon. So these are photos that had never been seen before up until the point they got posted on Reddit. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Reddit. I think it's a pretty pretentious spot, but I think it's sometimes got some decent stuff on it. So what's funny is that when Guns N' Roses played Salt Lake City in 1991, Axl wasn't very happy with the crowd at the show, and the band's next show in Tacoma, Washington a few nights later, he kept referring to how much the crowd in Salt Lake City sucked. Now, one of my favorite comments on the Reddit post is that people looked at the photos and said that the date checks out because Axl's seen wearing his Converse high tops, and the guy wrote, "We know that he didn't lose those shoes until his freak accident in 1993 when he jumped off an oil tanker and was rescued by a friendly pod of dolphins." So the guy elaborated a bit more on what happened on this day. So it was pretty simple. The hot air balloon had some mechanical issues and basically had to land in front of his grandpa's street. And it sounded like his grandparents didn't really know who Axl was, and they were just cleaning out his attic one day and came across these pictures, but they didn't really have the context of when this happened. So there actually were some reviews of that 1991 show that Guns N' Roses played in Salt Lake City. So there was two reviews, both were published in the Salt Lake City Tribune. So the one from the official newspaper said Guns N' Roses concert passes without problems. So they said a beefed up security force was on hand as the heavy metal rock band Guns N' Roses took to the stage at Salt Palace Saturday evening, but the concert passed without violence. So it's important to note this concert took place almost 2 weeks after the St. Louis riot. So a lot of security was put on those shows following that July 2nd riot. So they said outside the A-Court Arena, security guards searched through purses and checked concert goers as they entered the building. Inside, a heavy stream of security guards and ushers patrolled aisles and watched the band. Usually there were about 40 ushers for concerts, but there were more than 75 on hand for this rock concert, and an increased force of Salt Lake police officers also patrolled outside Salt Palace. Security was increased after the riot broke out at the Guns N' Roses show in St. Louis. At that time, it was reported more than 60 people were injured after lead singer Axl Rose jumped into the audience when a fan began taking pictures. So security guards passed out handbills warning concertgoers against taking cameras, lighters, and alcohol into the arena, and handbills were basically advised fans to stay in their seats and not to stand in the aisles, which probably made for a pretty boring concert to say the least. And then the actual review said that Guns N' Roses goes off on explosively. So saying he wanted to leave before I put anyone else to sleep, singer W. Axl Rose put on a rather odd and uneventful end to the ballyhooed Guns N' Roses concert Saturday night in the Salt Palace. Fans cursed and booed as security personnel worked quickly to move the disappointed concertgoers out of the arena after the performance by the ill-reputed rock and roll band. So after a 2-hour show, the abrupt close came to a relief to anxious Salt Lake authorities who had kept a close watch on GNR after a riot broke out in the group's performance 2 weeks ago in Missouri. An enthusiastic crowd of nearly 12,000 filled the Salt Palace Arena to see what had been billed as one of the summer's biggest concert acts. An increased security staff of over 200 patrolled the aisles in the arena, doing everything from extinguishing cigarettes to making sure fans who tried to edge closer to the stage returned to their assigned seats. The cautious setting, which included a cattle guard and fencing set up coincidentally in preparation for the Days of 47 rodeo, and the raucous enthusiasm of the fans made for an interesting combination. Expectations for the concert ran high because of the band, whose members are notorious for playing great rock and roll as they are for their antics, had not performed in Salt Lake City since they opened up for Iron Maiden 3 years ago. Local groupies were out in full force Saturday night. Young women clad in form-fitting black attire clamored for the coveted backstage passes that the group's managers handed out during the break between Skid Row's, who was the opening act, and Guns N' Roses' performance. "They said we weren't dressed right," said one 25-year-old woman who requested to meet the band but was declined. "I guess they wanted somebody sleazier," she said. At the center of attention was the heat-seeking Mr. Rose, whose stage manner, despite his reputation as a rabble-rouser, proved to be tame. He screamed only a few expletives in between the song chatter and was mild in comparison to Skid Row's lead singer Sebastian Bach. Mr. Bach may have been trying to push limits of freedom of speech since he was cited for lewdness over comments he made during his last appearance in Utah, and Mr. Rowe's traditionally questionable stage antics were also held in check. He made his social and political statements through a number of costume changes that included a coat made in the form of an American flag, a Scottish kilt, and baseball catcher's chest protector. So before GNR came back to Salt Lake City in Utah back in 1993 for the second show in 2 years, there was an article written up about the band, and it's kind of funny to read some of the rumors. So they said rumors abound that the wedding scene in the band's November Rain video featuring Rose and model former companion Stephanie Seymour was footage of the couple's real ceremony. So of course we all know that that wasn't true. They also said that Rose quelled these rumors last month by publicly announcing that his relationship is over and by saying, "I think I found somebody I can be happy with." The latest rumors say the woman hails from a small southern town and, surprise, is not a model. So after finishing the Skin and Bones tour later this month, both Guns N' Roses and Ice-T camps have hinted at a doubling up for a rock and rap bill, which of course never ended up happening. It was also said in the article that in the United Kingdom, royalties from the group's cover of Bob Dylan's Knocking on Heaven's Door were pledged to AIDS organizations, and the group astonished the music industry by teaming up with Metallica, perhaps its chief commercial rival in the hard rock genre, for a successful stadium tour in the summer of 1992. After the mega tour, Guns N' Roses scaled back to its current stage to showcase the individual members' skills, with lots of solos from fleet-fingered guitar Slash and Axl holding forth from the grand piano. They also said that Slash took the time out from touring to play with Michael Jackson on the song Give In To Me. He also appeared in the video, which featured prominently on Michael Jackson's much ballyhooed television interview with Oprah Winfrey. It also said that Slash also recently purchased a home in Beverly Hills from actress-singer Neil Carter. So 2 years later, Guns N' Roses would return to Salt Lake City for an April '93 concert on the Skin and Bones tour. Now, I wasn't able to find too much about the song list on that show. It seems like it was pretty incomplete, but there was a pretty great review written about the show that said Guns on target this time around. They said you got to tip your hat, or in this case your red bandana headband, to Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose. So if Wednesday's concert at Salt Lake City's Delta Center is any indication, the 30-year-old singer had pulled the group together to live up to its reputation as one of the finest, most exciting rock and roll bands. His kamikaze headband and his black tank top depicting Charles Manson served as a reminder of the temperamental Axl, who left the Salt Palace stage in a pout 2 years ago, and therefore was nothing less than a shock to hear him say he was sorry for the way he acted. True story. His official apology came shortly after 12:30 a.m., just as the band was returning to stage with an encore for Paradise City, but the group's members have been making up for it all evening with their 2.5-hour professional display of musical showmanship. They did keep their fans waiting for an hour between the time opening act left the stage and when Axl, Slash, Duff and Dizzy and Gilby burst onto the stage playing It's So Easy. But by the time they got their 1987 breakthrough hit, Welcome to the Jungle, the Delta Center became a sea of rocking bodies, was all forgiven. The crowd didn't even mind when Axl gave them the finger, done more out of a defiance of authority than at the act of hostility. That probably happened during It's So Easy. So the 15,000 plus fans were rewarded with a memorable show that found Guns playing far better than they did 2 years ago anyways. The group charged through powerhouse jams of Double Talk and Jive and Paul McCartney's Live and Let Die like a well-oiled machine, with Axl's screaming vocals leading the way. A wall of lights at the back of the stage helped the groups capture the supersonic effect. Stage crews then brought out a couch and coffee table, signifying the change in pace was in store. Axl, who's been running around the stage like a charged atom, parked himself on the couch while the bandmates pulled up chairs beside him to participate in a semi-acoustic set. So Slash, the traditionally somber guitarist, even joined the fun, parting his hair and smiling at the crowd between his passionate solos. Things heated up again for Sweet Child of Mine, and the group and the audience basically parted as friends. Because of the band's wild reputation, tight security follows Guns N' Roses wherever they go, but Axl and the boys behaved, and the only outrageous incident at Wednesday's concert before the show was when officials escorted out a young fan who was playing up to the cameraman, scanning the crowd, removing her bra, and performed a little striptease. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you ever went to any of those Utah shows or ever saw GNR in Utah back in the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video if you enjoyed that, and go check us out on gnrcentral.com. Take care.
You're watching Guns N' Roses.